Computer. Okay, do you see recording on
Yep.
top left on both your screens there?
Yes, indeed.
Stuff. So we're filming away now.
Excellent.
John, how's tricks? Did you get to play golf yesterday?
No, 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 and I live within 3.3 kilometers from front door to the golf course, so I'm well within the 5 km, so I have no issue with showing up. So, but no, Mark, I'm too busy. So right now with the golf industry stuff is that I mean, since there isn't any travel, it's complete brown bread jam toast.
Yeah.
So a lot of the trips that were booked in for this year are moving into next year. So right now it's trying to reconfirm stuff for next year, and then there's also people talking about traveling next year as well. So it's a bit of both. So it's busy. It's really busy.
Cool. Well, so John, look, there's two main. I suppose there's two main strings to your bow. There's obviously the golf training and tutoring, coaching. But I suppose what we're going to talk mainly about today is your concierge golf. So kind of the hospitality side of the business. So I suppose if you would just give people, a little bit about yourself and kind of what you do.
Sure. So my name is John Dooley, if you didn't know, and I have a small business called Concierge Golf Ireland, which manages golf travel into Ireland and Scotland. So with the management part, it's arranging the tea times, the transportation, the hotels, things to do, and the dining part of it. So the booking process would be initially from the start, from making the initial booking to going through all the various payments as you go through the whole process until the very end, and there's customer support then throughout the trip, and that would be one of the key issues or important parts to that component of the service is the ongoing service throughout the trip. So right now, if we didn't have the wonderful virus, I'd have 3 trips going on, and I'd be running up and down either to Shannon Airport this morning or Dublin Airport, one of the two.
So I suppose, yeah, look, that kind of brings us to the next question at the moment. Obviously, I suppose, look, the good part for the golf side of things is that it's been one of the first things to open back up. But obviously, the hospitality sector is probably the sector that's by far and away most affected by the virus. So I suppose at the moment, what kind of communication channels do you think the hospitality sector as a whole is using to try and keep in touch with their customers, to try and hopefully have them ready to start coming back into their restaurants, their hotels, their pubs when they can and are able to, basically?
So I suppose there's a couple of parts to that, Mark. I mean, right now we're not 100% sure. Well, when I say 100% sure, hotels can open from the 20th of July. So there are messages now of hotels talking about come stay with us. There's also messages coming, I see, from restaurants and bed and breakfasts about opening, and we're planning on doing different things. So it's not so what I would see as part of the message would be, it's just not alone the offering for come stay with us. It's come stay with us and do this, and it might be more to do this is the outdoor activity. So things that you can do that are trustworthy, things that you can do that you can feel safe, and things that you can talk about that are experiential, that have a compelling reason to do something. I mean, that's easier said than done, talking about a compelling reason to do something. So if you say, come stay with me, and you go up a hill and you take this wonderful picture, but it's more than that. I mean, it's come stay with me in Skibbereen. There's this fantastic view. There's a beautiful walks, and there is in West Cork, and there is in West Clare, and there is in South Kerry, and there is in Donegal, and there is in Mayo, and there's tons of places to go see that have all those beautiful walks and beautiful sights, regardless of the weather. So translating that then from what you have into something that people can understand and see, I think there's a mix of pictures can tell some of the story, and it could be certainly a part of a campaign where you can start with awareness. I think a big part of the consideration factor would be, if you can, is create some video content around that experience and testimonial parts as well, and that would be part of the reason why you would stay at accommodation, at a hotel, or so forth. The different types of food offerings that if you visit such and such a restaurant, these are the other activities that you could consider as well, and also with the pub stuff, it depends on what the offer is, because I think the times for, we're not really sure about when pubs are open, how pubs will form, or how that type of engagement can take place. Because if you're standing in a pub 2 meters away from whoever, it's there's a lot. I mean, it's backs to the wall stuff. That's the challenge, you know. So they're the kind of channels that I think that would certainly be beneficial, and promoting those channels then would be through the various types of platforms that the businesses use. Whatever you're popular on. I mean, if you're a popular Twitter person, if you're a popular Facebook person, and even my favorite is really the email marketing, and along with that then is for the Instagram stories. So there's even with that, then it just translates into a brand story about who you are. And I mean, effectively then you can start even going back to the start and redefining who you are, what you are, and what you do, you know.
I think there's a great tip in there though, John, with regards to the experience side of things for people in the hospitality sector. So incorporating, you know, that outdoor experience into their packages is something I think that could be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, and the other thing there as well to take into consideration, especially in the hospitality sector, it's all about just social proof. I mean, the first thing anyone does before they book anything is go for they look at a review or something. So those kind of those experiences will be even more important to capture now as well, where people are saying, Joe, I felt safe, everything was clean, everything was this, that, and the other, because that's a huge element of the experience going forward now as well. And that social proof around it, where someone puts up their hand and says, I felt completely safe there, as well as having a fantastic time as well, will be really important for businesses going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. The other part I forgot to mention about that as well, some other places are being a bit stronger on their e-commerce activity over the last number of months, and that would be certainly something to consider if you're in the product sales side of stuff. It is worth investigating and spending a bit more time on the e-commerce, particular in the sales and your website, and how that whole function that you may have on your site as it is already, because it's kind of an activity where I'd found in the past with e-commerce is that the website, some pages might need to be recoded or need to be rebuilt, and it would be certainly worth the company's while to reinvestigate that and invest an amount of money in working with someone to rebuild that part of their website.
I suppose in terms of that, is there any examples of people in the hospitality sector or the golf sector kind of putting together either kind of virtual experiences, more digital experience, or something kind of alternative to try and keep people engaged at the moment?
The things that are the parts that I've seen would be a lot of the videos of the various golf courses. No, I'm getting it out of my mouth eventually because I'm getting stuck. But it would be certainly the flyovers. Using the various different types of cameras on the various types of. My God, I'm stuck with the name. What's
drones.
The drones.
We're definitely keeping that in.
The drones. So there's a ton of drone footage, a ton of it, and I mean, at Cork Golf Club, we've got loads of it. I've seen Donegal Golf Club are using it. Portmarnock. If there isn't a golf club that's not in the tourism business, they're not using it, and because with it just gives people a snippet of how the course is looking right now. There's since golf hasn't been played for the last number of months, there's a lot of eager people to get out, and there's a lot of eager people trying to get a feel for what's the course looking like. It hasn't been played in X amount of months, should be in great condition, and there's an opportunity. And there are people, clubs are taking the opportunity for that drone flyover of a particular hole. This is the opening hole. This is the center of the course, and when the course is nicely cut, and you can really see the different types, the different types of grasses. You can identify with it, and it looks great. It looks great, whether it's an evening shot or a morning shot. There's some fantastic colours. I did see some really nice footage, drone footage of Portmarnock Golf Club. I thought it looked great, and again, there was some really nice stuff for Cork Golf Club as well. And that was just recently, but there's lots of courses that are doing that, and I think that is certainly a wonderful thing to. It's a nice awareness tool. I'm not sure it would be much of a consideration, but it was certainly a reason to do something. But certainly, it would keep your eye in and say, "That looks nice."
I think as well, an interesting thing, particularly in the golf sector, is the fact that right now it's the only sport pretty much people can play. So, do you think there's actually going to be an uptick in people playing golf? And if there is, what kind of tips would you have for courses and for people in the sector to retain them?
So right now there's a process identified, and there would be a suggested method or a suggested set of guidelines that the Golfing Union have and various other bodies have asked golf clubs to adhere to. So one right now would be golf clubs open within, and people should visit within 5 kilometers. And the idea would be golf clubs then would change their timesheets where visitors aren't being accepted right now.
Okay.
Just to reduce down the potential contact of people traveling all over the place. So it would be members mainly only. The timesheet would be reduced down, so the tee times may have a gap of, let's say, 10 minutes apart. That may be pushed to 12 and 15. So that's right now. But certainly for the future, golf clubs definitely need to start thinking about how they're going to operate their food and beverage service, and what type of service will that reflect, and how does that look like? So if you have, most clubs it's a clubhouse, so to have something outside, it may need to start looking at some type of awning, may need to start looking at some type of way you can deliver teas and coffees and sandwiches and so forth. They may build that into the cost of a round of golf and so forth. But getting back to the taking up the game, yeah, I mean, it certainly can be. Right now it's getting to the golf course and getting to a place where you can practice. The driving ranges are open, which is great. The golf courses are say right now they're just members only, but that'll change in 2 weeks. Or sorry, okay. There's a roadmap there that it'll evolve and change, where clubs will get back to taking in visitors again, and. Why not? I mean, golf. It takes time, like all sports. But it's a game where you can start now, keep going, keep playing. It's a great way. It's a fabulous way to get to know people. So it is a fantastic game for the development of different types of relationships, whether it's friendships, business relationships, and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting time for the sport. Because I don't think there is any other sport that's really been played at the moment, is there?
I think tennis is open as well.
Okay.
Yeah, more the outdoor types of games.
Yeah.
And I thought the Bundesliga, the Germans, the football league is back, isn't it?
They play the game with no audience there, right? Yeah.
John, I'd be so curious to know the viewing numbers compared to usual for that, considering there's no other form of football to watch.
It's the only game in town.
Yeah.
Through the roof. It's mad how this thing is like picking new winners and losers across different sectors, different sports, all that. It's kind of it's obviously terrible, but it's fascinating to watch as well. Because I'd be very surprised if this time next year we don't have a lot of new golfers.
Well, I mean, I think it's such an unusual set of circumstances that we find ourselves in, because it's all very boring. It's all very quiet. It's all very mundane. There's not a lot of activity. Um, Access to golf, yeah, it's easy to get access to golf courses. It's buying equipment. There's all sorts of equipment that you can get from all sorts of prices. So it's not that uh, there is a cost attached to it. I'd certainly recommend anybody that takes up the game definitely start playing, get a good number of golf lessons, play, and get some golf lessons again. It's not something that you got to keep doing, because a lot of the time with generating habits, it can be quite frustrating. Uh, with golf, because you could for example, there's different types of virtual reality golf games which don't really translate into the actual playing of it, because it's just very, very different, and it's more to do with the person's internal movements and feels for hitting a golf ball, versus the virtual thing where you just make a swing and it goes woo, and but with that, then just getting back to the actual part of the game, is that just the hitting part can take some time, and then going from the hitting to the golf course and trying to score. So from the beginning part can be quite frustrating. Essentially, if you just go out and have a laugh, hit the ball, take a couple of shots, hang out with friends, and have the purpose of just doing it for fun, and there's a health benefit as well, because you're swinging and walking around the place. And if you're looking for golf balls a lot, you'll find that you'll travel the golf course by twice. And so there's and with it as well, I mean, even though, I mean, with the social distancing, we say for you 3 to 5 hours with some friends, it's a good day having fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good day.
And I remember when I was working in the chamber before, they have this golf event every year where they have a hole-in-one competition and the year I was kind of manning the hole and taking people's tenors to enter the competition, I'd been there all morning and it was pouring rain, but one of the girls came along and said, look, you go take a break, go get yourself a bottle of water. And no sooner had I turned around than someone had gotten the hole-in-one with the Jaguar. And I was like,
Jane, was that a Cork Golf Club, was it?
Yeah, it was out. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Something Woods, Farn. No, I'll have to think of it again. But when I was saying to myself afterwards, I was like, I have to give this a go. Like, you know, if someone can win a Jaguar, I'll give it a go. And I tried it, and I'd say the ball went like 5 meters. It was just useless.
You'd be surprised, Jen, because initially with that is, I mean, this would be my golf coaching hat coming back on right now. A lot of the time with that would be hand-to-eye coordination. I know you're not as bad as you think you are, because you'd find that because most of the time we've been kicking, passing, doing stuff, observing games all our lives. So you haven't been missing out. So you have some of the ability from observing. So the motion then would be is if you just start swinging and hitting something, and start to then generate and try and copy some of the moves that you might see on TV. Now that's a very easy way to get going and swinging, and without anybody watching, which is the important part. So,
well, if you can get me good enough to win a Jaguar, I'm in.
Don't worry, Jen. We can do it.
Oh, brilliant. So, John, look, I suppose you're kind of in a unique position as well. We'd say most of your client base for coming over here, they'd be from the States as well. And I suppose a lot of the tourism generated by the hotels and all that would be a lot of people from the States as well. So if you were to kind of distill down a couple of points, a couple of tips for people who, you know, their business is basically, you know, bringing people over from the States and having them engage in the tourist industry, what kind of tips would you have for people who at the moment who are in that position where obviously it's pretty much gone to zero?
Video testimonials. Exactly what you're doing here, Mark. Zoom call, talk with a customer. You can identify your best net promoter. somebody to talk to that will that you can have a nice conversation about the types of services that you have. You can add in stuff about the experiential part of it, expand it in whichever way you want. The key, and again with that, as we were chatting earlier on, it would be key parts to that reason to come and visit, reason to use the services that we offer. And with that, then it's adding the trust and the security onto it, and also as well, it's promoting that in all the various channels that they use for their marketing, whether all the social media, all their email marketing campaign, if it's blog posting, whatever it might be. But certainly right now would be testimonials, and really try and find the main reason, the compelling reasons why people would consider using your services. And that's a lot easier. That is a lot easier said than done, because I mean, finding it the real consideration of why people would use your service.
Yeah, talking to your customers, really. I mean, that's I think that's the only way you really get there.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, it could identify as some market research, as you'd like to talk about a product, a service, previously, of what you have done in the past, and there's other stuff about what about this in the future. So there is a research part, but right now, I myself even in particular, it would be the video testimonial parts, and any type of information or any type of activity where you can get yourself in front of a camera talking about where you are, who you are, and what you offer, and that then is put in front of your existing customers, so they remind themselves who you are, what they've done in the past. It triggers all sorts of wonderful memories, because the really nice thing about being in Ireland, and more so than Scotland or England, is that there is a smidgen of bias attached to this. Is that the cultural experience tends to be better in Ireland than Scotland and England, and it's a lot to do with the it's a lot to do with the, as I say, the cultural experience. I mean, it's not to be thrown the Scots or the English under the bus or anything like that. It's just the Irish are more easier going. You know, I mean, there's yes and no, and there's a massive grey area in the middle. That's a good way to describe an Irish fella. Irish person's that grey area in the middle, because it kind of is, kind of isn't. And you find the Scottish, yes, no. A smidge in a grey area in the middle.
Oh, brilliant. So I suppose, John, if anyone's listening, they want to find out a bit more about yourself, if they're now in this, going to start taking up golf, where can they find out a bit more about you?
Well, we didn't talk much about the golf coaching side, but the golf coaching side, if you were thinking of taking up golf, you'd find me at www.johndooleypga.ie.
Lovely job.
You can find me there, and where I'm located in Riverstone, there is a big open field. There is plenty of social distancing, and you can hit golf balls all we like. We may have rain issues at times, but that's the only drawback for being out in the open. But yeah, it's one-to-one coaching, so there's no issue with the social distancing stuff. That's that part. But going back to the tourism part of it, hopefully when the flights get going again, whenever that happens, when people start coming back, then I think they're the dates that they'll be of interest to everybody in the tourism part, is when flights open again, what type of precautions and that air travel can take to help people to feel safe or be safe. Rather than popping into the plane with a whole protective suit on for the face.
You said a plane with a hole. I was like, that's not good.
The hazmat suit isn't going to fix that.
Yeah, the hole in the roof, nice sunlight or skylight. No, so looking for something with your whole PPE outfit, you know. Yeah, so I mean, if that's what it takes, gee, it can happen, but hopefully not.
I don't think so. I don't think it'll quite go that far. Hopefully not, anyway.
Yeah.
Brilliant, John. Thank you very much.
Mark, Jen, pleasure.
A pleasure, man. We'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.